I mean, you can say it however you want to, but the answer is no. And this makes it easier, and this is what I want the American folks to know. It makes it easier for human and drug traffickers, cartels, terrorists, organizations, and other criminals to do business in the United States. And when you're limiting the enforcement just to foreign entities, it exempts 99% of the entities that Congress intended the law to cover when it was passed into law. So I think I do have my answer. We're just not agreeing on it, and we know why. So let me go to my second.
Congresswoman,
It's my time.
I
Let
would
me go
say
to
that
my
the
second
Mexican
question.
cartels
The clock
do
is
not
running. It's
operate
my time.
Delaware
It is
LLCs.
my time. You will not do this on my time.
What happens when a member of Congress refuses to be brushed aside? Today, we bring you a fiery exchange from Capitol Hill, where Rep. Miss Batty went head-to-head with Treasury Secretary Bessent. The clash was about more than just policy. It was about national security, equity, and whether Americans can trust their government to enforce the law fairly. From cartel loopholes to the stalled Harriet Tubman $20 bill, Batty made it clear she would not be silenced. Let's break it all down.
For 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Ranking Member, and to you, Secretary Bessent. The Trump administration has alleged that detecting and deterring transnational criminal organizations such as Iranian terrorist groups and their proxies is a priority for national security. But on March 2nd of 2025, your department announced that it would not enforce any penalties or fines associated with the BOI reporting rule, nor will it enforce the CTA against U.S. citizens, domestic reporting companies, or their beneficial owners. So I'm a little confused of how you square those two things. So my question is, can you explain to, or would you explain to the American public how you undermine the bipartisan CTA and expect law enforcement and national security agencies to quickly and effectively know the true owners behind shell companies registered in the United States now that foreigners, including a drug cartel, gang members, could register a company in the United States with no state or any federal ownership reporting requirements? And I remind you, in your testimony, you talked about illicit actors. Well, these are some of our illicit actors.
The Congresswoman, an overwhelming majority of the domestic entities that you're describing are hardworking Americans with small businesses. We bifurcated the bill, and any foreign entities must still file.
So are you saying to me it's not true that they must file and the foreign entities must file the BOI?
Yes, we bifurcated the CTA program that domestics do not have to.
So maybe I'm asking it the wrong way. So it appears that they are doing it registering to avoid the transparency of who the companies are.
I'm not sure what your question is. I'd be happy to answer it.
So I guess I'm looking at it as, and if you're saying it is not true and that they now are complying and completing the BOI, so let's take it one step at a time. So you're saying everybody is completing the BOI. You're enforcing it.
No, ma'am. I am saying that we have bifurcated it, that U.S. nationals do not have to file, and that foreign nationals do.
Okay, so I guess when we look at this, if we're limiting enforcements of the rule just to the foreign entities, that creates a giant loophole whereby any foreign entity can register in the United States and evade or not do the BOI reporting requirements.
Well, they would be subject to they would have to come through a U.S. financial institution, so they would be subject to all U.S. institutions.
Including the BOI. Including the BOI. Including the BOI, yes or no? Because the answer is no. I mean, you can say it however you want to, but the answer is no. And this makes it easier, and this is what I want the American folks to know. It makes it easier for human and drug traffickers, cartels, terrorists, organizations, and other criminals to do business in the United States. And when you're limiting the enforcement just to foreign entities, it exempts 99% of the entities that Congress intended the law to cover when it was passed into law. So I think I do have my answer. We're just not agreeing on it, and we know why. So let me go to my second.
Congresswoman,
It's my time.
I
Let
would
me go
say
to
that
my
the
second
Mexican
question.
cartels
The
do
clock
not
is running. It's
operate
my time.
over LLC.
It is my time. You will not do this on my time. Now, I'm going to ask for a few more seconds since he refused to comply with my time, not his time. In 2016, former Secretary Jack Lew announced that Harriet Tubman was to be the new face of the $20 bill. Can you tell me what's the current status of this project?
No, ma'am, I can't, but my staff will get back to you.
No, I want you to get back to me. Because, see, there seems to be an issue when it comes to things that affect people of color or people who live in poverty, whether it is what you're doing with Social Security, what you are doing with restricting funds to programs.
The gentlewoman's
So
time is
I
expired.
want you,
The gentlewoman's
will
time
you
is
respond
expired.
to me?
The gentleman from
Mr. Chairman,
Texas,
I need
the
him to
gentlewoman's
answer
time.
if he will. I'm not
The
a staff
gentlewoman can
person.
submit
I'm not
questions
asking
for the
him
record.
to have his staff report to
The
me.
gentlewoman
So,
can
Mr.
submit-
Chairman, I'm addressing it to you to ask
gentlewoman's
him
time has
to respect
expired.
me. Mr. Chairman,
The gentlewoman's
I'm talking
time
to
has
you.
expired.
I need him to address
the
if he
gentlewoman's
will
time
answer
has
me.
expired.
No, I'm not going to.
The gentlewoman's
yield.
time has
I'm
expired.
not going to stop until you
The
direct
gentlewoman's
him
time
to
has
answer to
expired.
me as a member of Congress.
The gentlewoman's
Mr.
time
Chairman,
has
point
expired.
of
The
order
gentlewoman
to
has
you.
offered that she can
Mr.
submit questions
Chairman,
for the
point
record.
of order to you. I will not stop. I will not be silent.
The gentlewoman is
until
not
you
offering
direct
an
him
appropriate
to answer.
parliamentary inquiry. Does
Will
the gentlewoman
you-
have a parliamentary
Yes,
inquiry?
I do.
Please state the parliamentary inquiry.
As a member of the United States Congress addressing the Secretary, I am asking you to rule on asking this hostile witness to direct his response to me versus having him tell me that his staff will respond to me. My staff person didn't ask him the question. I did.
The gentlewoman does not state a parliamentary inquiry.
So let me ask the
gentlewoman's
point of
time-
privilege to you, Mr. Chairman, because I'm not going to stop this morning until you respond to me then, if you will direct the Secretary to respond to me as a member of Congress. Or let me ask him.
It is not a
Then
point of
let me
privilege. The
ask
gentlewoman's
him
time. The
if
gentlewoman's
he will
time has
respond
expired.
to
The
me.
gentlewoman will
he
suspend.
respond to me?
The gentlewoman will.
Respond
The gentlewoman
to me
will
that
suspend.
he-
The gentlewoman
It can
will
be simple
suspend.
if he responds.
The gentlewoman will
If
suspend.
he responds
The gentlewoman
to me,
will
if
suspend.
he will
The
respond to me,
gentlewoman makes a legitimate request, a personal
you
privilege.
can simply ask him to
Grant
respond.
personal privilege.
Just
Personal
ask him to
privilege.
respond if he'll respond to a member of Congress versus saying a staffer. It's simple as that.
I ask that members keep decorum and remain cordial during today's hearing.
I am being
Members,
cordial to
the
you,
gentlewoman will
Mr.
suspend.
Chairman.
The chair has the time.
Mr. Chairman,
the
will you
chair has the
answer the
time. The
question?
gentlewoman will suspend.
The gentlewoman
The
makes a
gentlewoman will
legitimate
suspend.
request.
I ask that members keep decorum and remain cordial during today's
being
hearing.
cordial. I resent your statement to imply that I am not. I am a member of the U.S. Congress. I am asking this
The
secretary
gentlewoman
to
may
respond
submit
to me.
QFRs for the record, which will be responded to by the secretary.
Thank you.
The gentlewoman's time has expired. The gentleman from Texas, the chairman of the Small Business Committee, Mr. Williams, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being here. This may be a little easier on you here. I'll try to move it fast forward. The Chinese Communist Party has enabled their economy to serve as
The hearing room was tense from the start, but it reached a boiling point when Rep. Miss Batty turned her 5 minutes into a relentless grilling of Treasury Secretary Bessent. What unfolded was not just a policy debate, it was a full-throated demand for accountability, transparency, and respect for the role of elected lawmakers in holding executive officials to account. Batty began by zeroing in on what she saw as a glaring contradiction. On one hand, the administration claims that combating transnational criminal organizations, from Iranian terror proxies to human trafficking networks, is a matter of top national security priority. On the other hand, Treasury had recently announced it would not enforce penalties or fines against U.S. citizens, domestic reporting companies, or their beneficial owners under the Corporate Transparency Act's Beneficial Ownership Information Rule. In practice, this means that U.S.-based companies can register without disclosing their true owners. To Rep. Batty, this opened the floodgates for criminal organizations to take advantage of America's corporate system to launder money, move drugs, and disguise illicit operations behind anonymous shell entities. Her questioning was sharp, direct, and uncompromising. She asked the secretary to explain how refusing to enforce transparency rules could possibly square with the administration's stated priority of cracking down on organized crime. She pointedly raised the specter of cartels, gang members, and traffickers exploiting the very loopholes that Treasury was now protecting. This makes it easier for human and drug traffickers, cartels, terrorist organizations, and other criminals to do business in the United States, Batty declared, her voice rising as she pressed for a clear answer. Secretary Bessent attempted to respond with technical distinctions. He claimed the program had been bifurcated, meaning domestic companies would not have to file beneficial ownership information, but foreign entities would. This, he argued, still allowed the U.S. to monitor foreign actors. But Batty was quick to point out the obvious flaw. If foreign actors could simply create or purchase a domestic shell company, they could evade scrutiny entirely. That, she argued, was not a narrow loophole, but a gaping hole in the system, one that undermines the entire purpose of the Corporate Transparency Act. The back and forth grew heated as Batty pressed for a yes or no answer. Was the secretary enforcing BOI requirements across the board? His repeated attempts to reframe the issue only hardened her stance. You can say it however you want to, but the answer is no, she said flatly. With that, she put into plain words what many watching likely felt. The Treasury's refusal to enforce the law for domestic entities was effectively an invitation for criminals to exploit the system. But Batty wasn't finished. She pivoted sharply to a different issue, one charged with symbolic weight. She asked the secretary about the status of the Harriet Tubman $20 bill, a project first announced in 2016 under Secretary Jack Lew. The redesign was supposed to replace Andrew Jackson on the $20 bill with Harriet Tubman, honoring the abolitionist's legacy as a freedom fighter and a woman who risked everything to liberate enslaved people. Nearly a decade later, the bill has yet to materialize. Secretary Bessent tried to deflect, saying he did not have an answer but that staff would follow up. That response ignited Batty's fury. To her, being brushed off with a promise of staff follow-up was not just bureaucratic evasion, it was a dismissal of her authority as a member of Congress and of the communities she represents. No, I want you to get back to me, she snapped. My staff person didn't ask him the question. I did. From that moment on, the exchange transformed from a policy dispute into a battle over accountability and respect. Batty invoked her rights as a member of Congress, pressing the chairman to direct the witness to answer her questions directly rather than hiding behind staff. The chair repeatedly tried to gavel her down, insisting her time had expired. But Batty refused to be silenced. She invoked points of order, privilege, and parliamentary inquiries, making it clear she would not surrender her right to demand answers in real time. I will not stop. I will not be silent, she declared. Those words resonated far beyond the walls of the hearing room. They captured a broader frustration that government officials often use bureaucracy as a shield, avoiding direct accountability when the stakes are highest. Batty's insistence that the secretary answer her as a duly elected representative spoke to the principle that the executive branch must remain accountable to Congress, not the other way around. The symbolism of the Harriet Tubman $20 bill amplified that tension. For many Americans, the delay in issuing the Tubman note is not just about a piece of currency. It represents a failure to honor commitments to equity and recognition for the contributions of people of color. To Batty, the refusal to provide a direct answer underscored a deeper pattern. Issues impacting marginalized communities are too often delayed, sidelined, or ignored. The chairman's insistence on decorum only deepened the clash. Batty pushed back, saying she was being cordial but forceful, and that implying otherwise was an insult. Her refusal to back down was itself a statement that when equity, security, and accountability are on the line, politeness cannot become a substitute for truth. For Democrats, this exchange embodies the role of oversight, pressing the executive branch to answer hard questions, closing loopholes that benefit criminals, and ensuring that promises of inclusion are kept. For progressives especially, the Harriet Tubman $20 bill is a powerful symbol, a reminder of America's unfinished work to honor its heroes and confront its past. At the same time, the BOI debate has serious national security implications. Law enforcement and intelligence agencies have long warned that shell companies in the United States are a favored tool of cartels, traffickers, and oligarchs. The whole point of the Corporate Transparency Act was to close those loopholes by requiring disclosure of true owners. By refusing to enforce those rules for domestic companies, the Treasury undermines the very purpose of the law, creating exactly the kind of blind spot that criminals thrive on. Batty's insistence on clarity, yes or no, are you enforcing the law, cut through the bureaucratic spin and laid bare the stakes. The drama of this moment also lies in its refusal to end neatly. The chair declared her time expired, but Batty kept pressing. Her words, "I will not stop, I will not be silent," turned what might have been another forgettable hearing into a defining clash. It was a display of passion, persistence, and principle in the face of bureaucratic evasion and procedural roadblocks. For viewers, this confrontation should be seen as more than just political theater. It illustrates how oversight really works: messy, heated, often frustrating, but essential for holding officials accountable. It also shows the importance of persistence. Without Batty's refusal to yield, these issues might have been buried in technicalities and staff memos. Instead, they were forced into the open. The hearing ended with the chair moving on, but the echoes of Batty's words linger. Her insistence that domestic loopholes in financial reporting endanger national security will resonate with law enforcement officials and watchdogs alike. Her demand for answers on the Harriet Tubman $20 bill will continue to press the Treasury to honor a promise long overdue. And her defiance against being silenced will inspire others in Congress and beyond to speak with the same determination. In the end, what we witnessed was more than a clash of personalities. It was a clash of principles: transparency versus evasion, equity versus delay, accountability versus bureaucratic deflection. Rep. Batty stood her ground and left a mark that will not soon be forgotten. And perhaps most importantly, she reminded the American people that democracy is not quiet. It is noisy, passionate, and often uncomfortable. But it is in those uncomfortable moments that truth is forced into the light.